Good morning, Facebook lands. This is Mike George coming at you live from downtown Columbus on this beautiful, slightly nippy 4:20 in the morning time. It's almost become a sort of a nightly routine of mine to sort of walk through downtown this time of night, about an hour before the COTA buses start. Um, and it's one of my favorite little times of the day to walk. This is kind of that sort of lull uh, between folks getting home from the bar, which is usually around 2 or 3, and then sort of like the early risers on their way to work, which would be probably about 5. Right? Yeah, I starting around 5 a.m. So it's sort of that sort of hour or two of tranquility uh, between the days, and I love it. It's so quiet out in the streets. It feels like I really have the whole city to myself. And shoot, I thought I would take this opportunity to kind of share with you guys out there in Facebook land the magnificent city that is Columbus, Ohio, at this quiet hour of 4:26 a.m. on Thursday, the 16th of May, 2024. Just walking down sort of the main drag of Gay Street right now, up to high. One of my favorite Italian restaurants in town is right along here, Due Amici. I haven't indulged myself in that place in quite a while. Perhaps when I get one of the myriad of checks that is due to me in the door, perhaps I will splurge. We shall see. Perhaps a boy will treat me even better. Alright, there's Due Amici. Glad to see that place is still there and pretty much the same as I remember. I've been watching, sort of reviewing the the long list of prior Facebook Live videos that I've done for you guys. Man, it's amazing how much content, how much airwaves I filled up with just my sort of pointless rants. And I realized watching a lot of them that well, it's so seldom that I just kind of sit back and kind of just stroll along without feeling the need to fill up to fill up the silence with my own voice. So, I'm always complaining about how you guys never comment and how seldom I get comments and sort of any sort of interaction with you guys out there in Facebook land during these live broadcasts. But I think part of that is on me, perhaps for sort of filibustering you guys out of the conversation. I don't know. Oh, some of these buildings downtown are just marvelous. It's so nice to see like that they've managed to keep a lot of the old architecture of downtown Columbus intact, even throughout this whole little renaissance that the city's going through. Approaching High Street here shortly. I never. I, there's this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a sort of an interesting little webbing that has been erected here. I think they put this up around the time that I first moved back to Columbus, maybe around last summer. I'm not really sure what the whole story of it is, but it's you know, there it should be. coming on down to High Street, and again, there's something just kind of marvelous about seeing High Street. Well, I spoke too soon. There is some traffic. We got a couple cars on High Street, but otherwise it's pretty remarkable to see what is the busiest street in Columbus, just so devoid of traffic right now. We live in a beautiful city. I try to remind myself of this every day, and these little night strolls really kind of bring it to home a little bit. Got a brand new building going up right here. I have a greenfield project, brand new build. Got the city vehicles out doing doing all of the unsung work of keeping our city clean and tidy and taking out the trash and all the unsexy tasks that must be done in order to keep this vibrant place ticking along. The link there at the bottom of, if you guys have noticed it, is a project that I had sort of been developing. About a year now, maybe even longer. It's called Street Smart. Um, Basically, it's a tool I sort of created for myself actually. At first, when I first had to traverse these scary and sort of unknown streets, it was sort of my way to kind of track all of the various amenities that I could sort of use to survive. Um, things that are free, including some public restrooms, free Wi-Fi. Uh, One of the most important ones, and the ones I use most often, is the all the various free meals that are offered throughout town from the churches and community organizations throughout town. There's a lot of them, and my experience has kind of informed me that there's resources out there, a lot of them, and we've kind of and as usual, the key is kind of getting the information and kind of knowing about it and finding it. And so this was my sort of way, a small little way of kind of organizing all of the various tips and rumors and whatnot I would hear about from people and kind of get it into some sort of manageable and, kind of shareable format. So I invite you guys to check it out. My headphones are probably dead now. So, shoot, it's a shame. This one I just charged it not that long ago. But I trust that perhaps, well, hopefully if you're not listening, if the audio is not coming through, these would be the headphones. But hopefully my phone microphone will be picking it up, so I have a little bit of my calming, soothing voice to narrate this little stroll through downtown Columbus. I do have to keep an eye on my battery too. Turns out doing these Facebook Live and streaming video and all that jazz uses a lot of data. So in the shadow of my former mothership, the AEP building. One of my little means of entertaining myself while I'm gallivanting through the city is making use of the copious amounts of parking garages and structures that we have throughout town. Obviously, I don't have a car, so what the hell good does it do me? turns out they make great acoustic spaces for when I have Wanda with me. And my goodness, part of the fun of having Wanda, and really one of the key things that kind of sets her apart from just using headphones, which people always ask me, why don't I just use headphones? Well, I can. If I use headphones, and nobody else can hear my wonderful selection of music that in order to accompany the vibe and the day that we're having. I mean, few things are as empowering as being sort of the DJ for the theme song that sort of fills the hearts of those who walk by me and kind of setting the scene for my little walk. My little way of playing God, if you will. If only just to kind of lighten the vibe of the area and, well, perhaps darken it depending on which mood is right. This is one of the parts of this is one of the parts of the city that kind of fascinates me the most is, you know, it really I think sort of requires properly walking up and down High Street to really notice the elevation change. You notice up ahead that High Street sort of rises up a bit. It kind of goes over a hump and that hump is where it traverses the train tracks. And that crossover point is essentially where historically the Union Station once was, which was the passenger train station that once served Columbus, Ohio. I think that we've had two of them actually. Over time, it was the first one built, and then a much larger one built after that, and then when they bulldozed that, they never really replaced it. Instead, we got Union Station, a gay bar which has no passenger rail relevance whatsoever. And I find it funny that throughout the city, Columbus is the largest city, as I often hark. Columbus is the largest city in the nation with no passenger rail service to speak of. Yet I find it funny that we have so many little homages throughout the city to train stations. We have Easton, which is, for those who might recall, sort of the central concourse, the interior portion of Easton Station, Easton Station, built after a train station. A fake train station, mind you, but hey, they tried. Maybe someday, I think along the route, along Cleveland Avenue, that is a rail corridor. Naturally, the Columbus to Cleveland line, or what perhaps formerly was, the Easton would have made a natural stop along that corridor. So perhaps someday in the future, I doubt it. You can barely imagine. You gotta pull teeth if you got a CODA stop there. Hell, you can only imagine the outrage of all the suburbanites who flock to Easton to get away from us urban heathens. It would pitch a fit, I'm sure, to see Amtrak service offered there. No, what are you gonna do? This is why we can't have nice things sometimes, huh? Yeah, pretty much the crest of this hump. Perhaps show you later in seconds when we get up there. You'll see the train tracks are the single track that is left among the dozen or so that used to pass through here. And of course, when they built this little 670 doohickey, kind of through the, underneath the cap and cover that is now Hyde Park Steakhouse. It's pretty. You really have to kind of look for it to sort of see the hallmarks of what used to be Columbus's sort of transit hub and gateway for folks visiting from out of town before they built the airport. And I guess, while we're on the subject of the airport also does happen to be along that same corridor. In fact, if they had kept the rails, along that corridor, we would probably be able to have, light rail service or something, some sort of passenger rail service, intra-city passenger rail service to get to the airport, which is one of those key things that's missing. But I'm hoping at least, yeah, I think there is a coda line that runs to the airport, but it's not really prominent, I would say, to like tourists that are visiting. Not in the same sense that the 747 line in Montreal was aptly named for, to kind of connote an airplane vis-a-vis airport. Now, what they have built here, marvelous Hilton Tower here, which is behind the tree. You'll see it in a moment. And pretty much the space between the Hyatt here on the right and the brand new Hilton Tower, this is pretty much the rail corridor. This is pretty much where the train station used to be. And so let's see if I can look through the grate. Yeah, here we go. We peer through this, you can see that single rail line still running along this corridor. And then kind of underneath where that big Columbus Convention Center sign is and so forth. Morning. And with our latest attempt to revive passenger rail service into Columbus, this is the site actually where, if all goes well with all those Biden bucks that are coming our way from the infrastructure bill, I mean Inflation Reduction Act legislation, then this will be the future site of that, what will be now the third iteration of train station here in fine old Columbus, Ohio. I would love to see that day. I will see that day, for fuck's sake, if I have anything to do with it. And there's that rail line once again. Oh my! But listen, it's like not a single peep. You can hear little birds chirping. Yes, that's the slow sort of crescendo of the birds as they wake up as we get closer and closer to dawn. Got the early risers probably having to catch an early morning flight to get out of Columbus. Those will be starting to emerge from the hotels and so forth. Speaking of the devil, there's a train right now passing through that corridor we just took a look at, so you can probably hear it right now. So at least something runs along those tracks. Unfortunately, not people, just goods. Well, my phone and pretty much all of my electronics at this time hate me because I have not been very diligent with keeping them charged. So I will give my phone a bit of respite and maybe give my brain a respite and just kind of chillax along the rest of the way. So I will conclude this broadcast by just saying, happy Thursday. We made it, or we're almost there. And so for some of you early birds getting up at this, who had their proper 420 wake and bake, hope you guys have a marvelous Thursday. And let's get through the end of the week, fellas. Coming at you live from Columbus, Ohio. This has been Mike George. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else.